criticise the postmodernists, and you do it often. And
but also gave the devil his due. You know, the postmodernists were definitely onto something. They also knew that we see the world through a story. Mm-hmm. They just got the story wrong. Just. but it's really something to have noticed, and the French intellectuals like Foucault, who was brilliant, although twisted and bent in a terrible way, but brilliant. I mean, Foucault was one of the first people to really put his finger on this, and his book, The Order of Things, the first half of that book is brilliant. It deteriorates as it goes. It needed to be edited more near the end.
What did you find so brilliant about it?
His grappling with the notion of the structure of our conceptual structures, right? He knew that we saw the world through a structure, and he had an intimation that it was narrative in nature. And he lays that out by analyzing older structures of knowledge, in a sense, from the perspective of an anthropologist or a psychologist. He does very much what Jung did with his work on alchemy. It's very similar, except Jung derived almost completely opposite conclusions to Foucault. And Foucault had his problems, let's put it that way, and they definitely tilted his thinking in a counterproductive direction.
Are you referring to his sexual deviance, or?
Yes, and not only. It isn't only that. So he was gay, but
that's not what I was referring to as his sexual deviance, by the way.
I know. Good work. That'll make you popular. But deviant does mean different from the norm,
right?
You know, so technically that's true. It means to deviate from the path in some sense, right? But I mean, Foucault was also a little bit more interested in, let's say, young people than he might have been.
Which is what I was referring to.
Yes, and in a manner that appears to be quite deeply pathological in a very, 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 very dark way. And, well, we won't say much more about that.
I mean, early in this conversation we talked about artists not being political or not letting what the artist's opinion doesn't really matter on the art itself. The art should stand in that. But does that not apply with Foucault to an extent, where what he did in his private life,
well, it does
horrid
to an extent.
as it was?
Oh, definitely. Well, that's why you actually, hopefully, it's
why? Because to live it is to, right, his actions actually speak more for his philosophy than his words.
Well, no, at least his actions, his philosophy, there's a relation between his philosophy and his actions. Now, what the relation is, that's a very difficult thing to sort out. And you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, when we look at people, historical figures, and this is happening all the time, we look at someone great, and maybe it's the same with Nietzsche. Nietzsche said some bitter things about women, for example. And so you can take those and you can say, well, who's going to listen to him? It's like, fair enough, don't. But it's Nietzsche. So that's your loss, man, not his. He's dead. He doesn't care. But the idea that, and it's the same with Foucault, I mean, I'm not a fan of Foucault's private life. That's for sure. And I have some sense of a clinician of just how dark it was. And it was plenty dark. And did that affect his philosophy? Yes. I think it made him much more attracted by Marxist doctrines of power than he would have otherwise been. And some of that was definitely self-serving, as far as I can tell. But The Order of Things is a great book. So you read and you differentiate and you discriminate, just like you do when you're talking to someone, and you try to separate the wheat from the chaff and gather the wheat and let the chaff fly away.